Thank God it's a Friday and we are great. Everybody's making it to the start of the weekend, Friday the 5th of April. Hello, everyone. This is your Frontier Open Bell. I am Bosin Amafaye. Let's get going. It's been a very interesting week so far. Of course, remember, Monday was cut off for the Easter Monday holiday. So we've got 4 sessions left in the week, and the Egyptian stock market finished off its own week Thursday. That was yesterday, with a very strong 2.04% on the EGX 30. That's a strong comeback just to say goodbye to the first week in April. Then, of course, you've got the Nigerian market continue to tread water until Thursday, down by 0.43%. Those declines in the big banking names were offset by a few gains in the consumer goods space, led by Dangote Sugar, as well as the largest brewer, Nigerian Breweries PLC. You've got a couple of earnings to deal with within the Nigerian space, including Stanbic IBTC and a couple of others. And of course, it's also a dividend pay period for companies listed on the NGX, which includes Presco PLC, folks in Agro Allied, as well as the banking sector and others, including companies within Transcorp Group as well. The Cote d'Ivoire stock markets, the markets in Abidjan, which represent the French-speaking West Africa, was down by 0.1% on Thursday. The Ghana market remained in the green territory by 12 basis points. The Zimbabwe stock market decelerated just slightly, less than 0.1% on just around that figure on Thursday. The Nairobi stock market down by 0.5%. And you have the GSE moving in tune with the rest of the emerging markets, strongly to the upside, 1.75%. That was dominated by resources, financials, and industrial names on the biggest exchange on the continent. That summarizes Thursday for you. Whatever today brings, we're going to see later. But first, let's check on with East Africa. News coming through from Kenya, the biggest economy east of the continent, that the World Bank is looking at further support for the country's economy, and the IMF will be putting additional at least $1 billion on the table to support President Ruto's fiscal budget deficit. The Kenyan shilling seen being the best performing currency, local currency in the world so far in the first quarter behind us. And that was some good news, which is motivating the Kenya's central bank to hold interest rate, at least with inflation also holding it a little bit steady. The governor of the central bank, Dr. Kamal Tuje, says yesterday at the post-MPC briefing that the banks in Kenya will have to recapitalize to be competitive and strong locally, regionally, as well as globally. He said that within the next 1 month, the program of how much that recapitalization size will be released for the public. Nigeria's just announced its own recapitalization program, and all banks in Nigeria are expected to submit the program of how to get it done. It's cash on the table for the Nigerian banks. You can use retained earnings. You can use anything else except raw cash. That's what Cardoso and the central banks are asking for. The deadline for that is a 2-year period. But of course, by April the 30th, we expect all banks to turn in their program of action. EcoBank in Rwanda reporting 7.6 billion Rwandan francs as net profit for last year, while Japanese companies looking at the Kenya's huge wholesale and retail used vehicles market. That is one big business that Bloomberg reported. So let's get on to West Africa. Of course, the Nigerian currency is also seen is a rally continuing, gaining additional 0.6% on the dollar Thursday, finishing around 1,250 at the autonomous markets. The Cardoso recapitalization will be credit positive for the banks, and that's according to the latest report by Moody's Ratings. The rating agency released a 2-page report yesterday stating that Nigerian banks will now be able to grow their loan book as well as prepare for the implementation of the Basel III requirements. All of that in the news. In the meantime, Flami is one of Nigeria's biggest consumer goods listed companies, raising 48 billion naira in 2 different tranches, one at 23.5, the other 25.5% the market. That's the commercial papers that is. Notorious Chemicals reporting a revenue of 33% growth for last year, but its net loss widened from double digit to triple digit of 114 billion for last year. And the new president in Senegal says he's setting up an investigation to audit the oil and gas deals that were signed under President Macky Sall's administration, the immediate past president of this West African country, as well as deals signed within the mining sector. It's the first major action in the core, the heart of the economy, as it were, oil, gas, mining of Senegal, West Africa, that the new 44-year-old president who promised to do what he calls systemic change is taking on is just less than a week in office. In Liberia may set the month of May, or the 15th of May, as the new deadline for all old banknotes to be returned to the banks and by extension the central bank, so that the new notes will begin to go into full circulation. That's what's called a currency redesign that Liberian authorities are carrying out. Okay, let's give a shot to Southern Africa. The South African stock market yesterday, I told you earlier, was strong by 1.73%. Resources got a very chunk of the day. Of course, we got non-resource names such as MTN Group and a few others, by the way. In the meantime, Gulf states are piling money into Africa's mining sector. And that's already in the news. If you are here on the continent, if you put a closer eye on the continent, you understand that as well from the GCC countries. Countries are stepping up into Africa and they're putting money into not just oil and gas, but also investing strongly in the mining space. The whole idea is to get a whole lot more of extractive sector of the economy under the belt of the GCC countries. In South Africa, anxieties around the May 29 general elections is out there, and that is impacting dollar bonds, South Africa's dollar bonds, with the worst in emerging markets. There are concerns whether the current political party, the ANC, will be able to retain power the May 29 elections. Zimbabwe is set to announce the fate of the local currency, the fate of the Zimbabwean dollar that's been down precipitously, 73% plunge so far. And that's been considered, will Zimbabwe buckle to the use of the US dollar as a fiat currency for the country? The finance minister says there is no retreat, no surrender as to the use of the local dollar in the country. We'll get to see how things go. In the meantime, the Zimbabwe central bank is warning Zimbabweans to desist from borrowing from loan sharks that demand arms and leg and a head, as it were, figuratively speaking, to grant them loans. The central bank there says you got to watch it. And finally, the central bank governor of Namibia is warning the country seriously to avoid the trap of what you call the Dutch disease or resource curse, which afflicts a number of resource economies in Africa. Nigeria, of course, you can go on, Ghana, Angola, and the rest of them. The central bank chief was Johannes Gawazab, was speaking over the last few days and outlay why the Southern African country, need to avoid that because of the problem associated with easy oil and gas money that could lead to unproductivity in other critical sectors. All right, let's now finish up in North Africa. Let's start checking with some of the biggest economies there with the Egyptian project of the Ras El Hakna, boosting the country's FX reserves to $40.36 billion. Additional funding is expected to support the country's fiscal deficit. And Azila Capital is looking to launch an accounting financial offer, worth about 700 million Egyptian pounds next month. That's coming within the financial system in Egypt, while the US wants to finance economic growth projects around Morocco. There's a team from the United States heading there to Morocco for that discussions, while Morocco and France are looking to reach some tailored solutions for better economic cooperation. We expect to see the results of that moving forward. And those are your headlines as we wrap up this business and markets week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy it. And I'll see you soon, everyone, on the other side of the weekend. Bye for now.